back by popular demand, Jay-Z, twice for the month of February, twice a week, Tuesdays and Thursday nights. Tentatively, you will get the collective. Without you guys on the other end, that never happens. So here's to new sponsorship, courtesy of OG and our great brand partners. And here's to another episode, which is being rolled out right now. Welcome inside the collective on a Thursday night. It's the 5th of February. I'm Bobby Trossett, joined alongside my co-hosts, Jeff Zrebeck of The Athletic and Cole Jackson of Road Graders. Gentlemen, Jeff is being blown up right now. He just broke news a short while ago. The Ravens have a new defensive line coach. I'll throw it to you in just a second, Jeff. But as we set the table, T. Martin is out. Israel Wolfork is in when it comes to Lamar Jackson's future quarterbacks coach and newest member of Jesse Minter's staff. We'll talk about Hall of Fame candidacy from two former Ravens greats. And, of course, as they already start to pour in, Q&A in the form of Super Chats. Who is the newest defensive line in Baltimore, Jeff?
Yeah, the Ravens finalized a deal with Chris Esposito, Michigan defensive line coach, who he's been there the last couple of years. Before that, he was a longtime defensive coordinator at Western Michigan. Very popular college assistant, known as one of the best recruiters in the country. Michigan's obviously produced a share of interior defensive linemen in the NFL in recent years. He's very well thought of, and well, he's a Jersey guy first of all, so we need to get that in. So that's the best part about him.
Yes,
so, yes, but yeah, it's an interesting hire, guys, as we continue to see Jesse Minter and the organization look in a lot of different places for their head coaching staff. And I was thinking to myself, if you look at the list now, most of their defensive hires, yeah, totally. But I mean, just specifically, most of their defensive hires have been college guys. And I don't know that I would have had that coming into this. It just kind of shows. It's kind of funny. I was talking to someone today, and he mentioned, Eric DeCosta's talked about, best player available. It's like they're attacking this coaching search like it's the draft. Like, go after the best guy available. It doesn't matter where he's from. We're going to get the best guy available because they've just been kind of reaching far and wide for their choices. And Esposito is another interesting one, known as a high-energy, charismatic guy. And look, people can say a lot about the experience, but we presume that Anthony Weaver is going to be doing a lot of the coaching along the defensive line, and he's just another guy there to develop players and get everything set up. So interesting hire, certainly a name. I can't say I watch Michigan religiously, but you sort of gauge the reaction of fan bases. And I know Notre Dame fans were pissed when they lost Mickens, and I know Michigan fans seem to be pissed when they're losing Esposito. So that's probably a good sign.
I got a good kick out of Nebraska fans that were pissed about Miles Taylor because I believe he had just taken a job there and he just kind of jetted on them. And speaking of, I was going through Lou Esposito. It's Lou Esposito, right? Or is it Chris?
Yeah.
Lou. Yeah. So Lou Esposito's kind of background, and it looks like when he took the Michigan job, it looks like he actually took a DC role at the University of Memphis, which is his alma mater, and then he left them when a job popped up at Michigan. So I thought that was kind of interesting, but kind of going through some of the success he had even at Western Michigan. His first stint at Western Michigan was actually back in the early 2010s, and he had a couple guys that came out of the NFL there. And then when he was at Western Michigan, one of the big names that came out was Marshawn Nealand, who was a pick of the Dallas Cowboys a couple years ago. Pretty high pick for a smaller program. He also had Zaire Barnes, who got drafted by the New York Jets. So a couple guys that got picked out of Western Michigan. Obviously, when he was at Michigan, he coached Mason Graham and Kenneth Grant. Those are guys that were there prior to him being there. So nice pedigree. I thought I was kind of looking through some of the Western Michigan stats. I thought one of the ones that popped out was, again, for a smaller program, Western Michigan was top 60 in sacks for NCAA programs pretty much every year that he was there. So that's pretty good production out of a defensive line at a smaller program when there's 138 D1 programs. So overall, it's an interesting hire. I was interested where they'd go with the D-line coach. It's kind of like when you look at, a defensive minded head coach, you might not get a top defensive coordinator. The Ravens did with Anthony Weaver, but when the defensive coordinator is a D-line guy, this is almost an assistant D-line coach, just because Anthony Weaver is going to have so much involvement there. So just to see them continue to stack good coaches, I think it's great to see. And I do the same thing as Jay-Z. I go check out the Reddit page of, Michigan or wherever. And it's funny to see people pissed every time we hire one of their coaches. So I think that's obviously a great sign.
Bobby, do you have an issue with all the college coaches? Does that bother you guys at all?
Well, it's funny that you asked that, because obviously I don't know a lot about these guys. Yeah. And maybe we can all, we're all going to be digging in. We already have been digging into who they are and what they've accomplished. I'm walking on Radio Row today and Sauce Gardner walks by. And I'm like, his freshman season, he was with Mike Mickens at Cincinnati. I might as well just see if I can, get his ear for a minute. And sure enough, he had a whole lot to say. I'll pull up part of his quote. And I think this is the best way to answer your question. Use Sauce as an example. Quote, he's a very passionate coach. He doesn't get complacent. He's very passionate about the game because he's played it. He played a good role in my development as a corner for sure. He's got what it takes. I don't think it's going to be a problem for him, meaning transitioning from collegiate coach to NFL coach. So, hey, if that ends up being the case, then good for him. I think he built the secondary in order to, in South Bend over the last few years into one of the most respectable units in the entire country. And while he doesn't have Sauce in Baltimore, he does have some developmental guys like a Nate Wiggins that he wants to get brought to the next level, Cole.
I will play devil's advocate just to kind of answer Jay-Z's question from a different perspective. And I don't know if you guys saw my tweet earlier, but I do this every year because I don't really watch college football. And then I obviously go in depth for the draft. So I was watching, I did a couple offensive linemen today, and I'm just reminded every year about the style of college football. And so if there was one criticism I would have, is just that the style of college football and NFL is very different. And that might be an adjustment for some of these positional guys. These guys are obviously intelligent football guys, and I'm not doubting that. They know that the NFL is different, but the reality strikes you differently. Offensive linemen need to be able to hold up longer. There's not as much screens. There's not as much misdirection. I almost went crazy watching Penn State and Oregon today just because the way they run their offense. And that's just the reality of college football nowadays. If I was to play devil's advocate, just to kind of give a different perspective, is there might be an adjustment there. There might be an adjustment for some of these guys. Even Mike Mickens coaching as a defensive pass game coordinator, those pass games at the college football level, we don't see as much pro offense as we used to. We don't see as much of the same type of deep passing spread that I think we saw in the 2010s. I think a lot of it's now, the screen game. It's become a huge thing. A lot of these teams, Penn State, I can't count the amount of times they, put a tackle out at the wide receiver position just to screw with the defense. So I think, to play devil's advocate, I think there might be an adjustment there.
Bobby, did you ask Sauce Gardner if he's still dating Ice Spice? Did you ask him the hard stuff here, or did you kind of walk on eggshells around?
Did you ask him if Ice Spice could hook you up with a date? Is what I want.
He gave me 90 seconds, Jay-Z. It was 90-second walk and talk on the way through Radio Row. So we didn't exactly get to any romantic endeavors.
Okay.
But
I was just wondering. We're doing 2 shows a week. We got to cover it all. We just can't be one-dimensional here about coaching stuff. For God's sakes.
Like I said off the top, with 2 shows comes more opportunities. And
that's right.
Our friend north of the border invested himself in a nice little mic.
That's right.
How is it working? Is it functioning well?
Damn good.
Okay.
He's using all that money I got him from these super stickers
to buy a new mic. Courtesy of the super stickers.
Oh my God. Look, with all this said, yes, we are in 2-a-week mode for February. So hopefully you guys are enjoying this. Over 500 concurrents and counting here in the opening moments of tonight's program. It goes without saying, if you could like the video, subscribe, hit that notification, more mics and more technical enhancements and advancements for all of us to come. So, and hopefully more content as well. We'll get to your super chats in just a bit. We were going to, before you broke the news, and Jeff, go ahead if you want to comment on anything else.
No, you go ahead. I was just going to, I'm sure you were going to set me up with it. Where are we now with the coaching staff, guys? Special teams coordinator is the biggest one, probably. Wide receivers, tight ends,
outside
linebackers. And then you're probably, do you hire an offensive pass game coordinator, or is that Joe Lombardi? Do you
I was going to ask you, Jeff, are we expecting Rick Minter? Like, I saw the article come out from BaltimoreRavens.com by Clifton Brown. I guess when I read it, just like from the fan perspective, I was like, oh, they're looking at Rick Minter as like like he's just his dad. He wasn't going to be on the coach. That's how I took it, but that's completely just how I scrolled it.
I think he'll be working here. I'm not sure the official title, but the plan is for him to be on this staff, whether it's kind of in the Dean Pease consultant role or something bigger. I'm not sure, but I expect him. And look, guys, we still, there'll be quality control coaches. There'll be assistant position coaches. There'll be different other personnel assistants and all that. So there's still a number of roles still to fill, but I think the ones that stand out are special teams coordinator. They've done a lot of interviews for that. So that's certainly one that's dragged on longer than I thought. Anthony Levine, seniors in the mix. And they've blocked him from interviewing elsewhere, which shows you they'd like to keep him. Marquise Williams, I think his name is, the Atlanta Falcons special teams coach from last year. I've heard his name mentioned. I'm sure there will be others. And then wide receiver, tight end, and outside linebacker. So it's coming along. It's coming along fast, and the combine will be here before you know it. So they'll obviously want to have the staff all done well ahead of that.
Why don't we dive into, before you broke the news on Esposito, we were going to talk sort of about the change at quarterbacks coach. Anybody that works closely with Lamar is going to get a lot of attention within this fan base. And I think the rapport that T and Lamar had built since 2021, I know he was the wide receivers coach when he first came to Baltimore, Jeff, but then transitioning once James Urban left to quarterbacks coach. He always spoke highly of Lamar, vice versa as well. Jeremy Fowler told me yesterday on my program that up until a couple days ago, Jeremy was getting the feel that there could very well have been not a reunion, but that they would have retained him. And ultimately they go with the Cardinals assistant in Israel Woolfork, and we'll get into his background in just a bit. But Jeff, would you have felt similarly if we were to have asked you of that earlier today about T's future?
I thought it was more than likely he was going to be elsewhere regardless. That's just me speaking. Nothing negative towards T, and he did a really nice job here, and obviously his relationships in the building and with quarterback Lamar Jackson are well documented. I just think, as I said multiple times on the show, that's an important role to have a guy that the offensive coordinator is comfortable with. And, people can act like this doesn't exist and it was all fiction and all reporters made it up. But the whole dynamic around Lamar with the communication with him and stuff wasn't good last year. And Harbaugh was part of it. Monken was part of it. And nobody interacts more with Lamar Jackson than T. Martin. And I'm not claiming anybody was at fault, but that's part. I think you needed a whole change to that system, how it worked, the communication. And I thought all along that the play was going to be to get in a new quarterback coach and a new voice and to significantly change up that dynamic as far as the communication with him.
Yeah, and I kind of dove into Israel Woolfork's background a little bit. I did a video on him this morning, and I think one thing, a lot of people kind of crap on Kyler Murray, but people don't really, acknowledge that in 2024, after his injury, he had a little bit of a bounce back year, and then he obviously gets hurt in 2025. And I thought what Jacoby Brissett did. I mean, Jacoby Brissett's been able to be a spot starter pretty consistently in the NFL. I think he's a good football player. I think he's one of those guys that you'd love to have as a backup. He's probably one of the better backups that you can get in the NFL. He might be the anti-Cooper Rush. When he stepped in there, I thought he played really good football. I know he went 1-11, and that's obviously not great for results, but I thought he still put together a pretty good season. And I think that really speaks for, a coach working directly with him day to day, not just, getting him ready for games, but confidence is a huge thing with some of these backups that are going to start extended periods. He started 12 games. He threw for 3,300 yards, 23 touchdowns, and 8 interceptions. Those aren't bad numbers by any stretch of the imagination. Those are, mid-level starter quarterback numbers, regardless of the record. So, I'm excited about him. I think it's one of those things. I hope we get some details on the interview process. Just kind of like who was involved, what was kind of, the deciding factor. I'm sure we'll get a quote from Declan Doyle or Jesse Minter in the coming weeks, but I'd just be kind of interested in what they saw that made that decision. Not that I'm questioning it. It's just out of pure curiosity.
Yeah, they interviewed both Ronald Curry and Israel Wolfork the other day, and they ultimately went with Wolfork. So obviously he was a guy that impressed them and throughout the process. He interviewed with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers for their head coach opening. Their offensive coordinator opening earlier this offseason. Per Adam Schefter, he's been a guy that other teams have tried to get at Arizona, and they blocked him. So, look, I don't know these guys all that well, to be honest. And I saw some reaction among the fans. Like, oh, really? This is the first hire I don't like. Not me, but the fans saying this. It's like, how many quarterback coaches can the average fan name? I'm guessing it isn't more than 10. and I might be giving people credit. I mean, I cover the NFL, and I couldn't tell you every quarterback coach in the league off the top of my head. And I certainly didn't know who Israel Wolfork is before we started on the scenario. So sometimes you got to be not afraid to admit you don't know. I, quite frankly, don't know how it's going to work, but he's obviously a coach that people like and is viewed as a riser, another young coach. And, it's an interesting move. You got
to teach Jeff how to give opinions for clicks here.
He's a key role.
Jeff, what's funny is and we will clip your ass before the end of this show, just like you did the other day.
Okay.
Sarah was getting a good kick out of that, by the way. She's like, so how many times are you going to clip him? I said, well, we'll have to talk to our editors about that. No, that's why when you asked me a couple minutes ago, of this trend, the collegiate trend that Jesse's on, what do you say? You just have to lean,
solely,
you have to lean on folks that know these guys.
I gave you a very, very valid answer.
Guys, remember 2 years ago when they brought in Doug Mallory to coach the defensive backs?
Great example.
And they were raving about him. He was wow, he's really good. I heard it wasn't just Ravens people and Michigan people. I had heard people around the league say, wow, that's an interesting hire. He's really good. And what did he last a year here? And we basically barely saw him throughout the year. So yeah, you're right.
Didn't the players drive him out? Didn't they pack his bags for him and send him to the airport?
Yeah, you just don't really know how some of these are going to work out. I just think the whole thing, I've been joking with Cole, and it's just kind of funny how people have these immediate opinions on these guys. Like, this is a home run hire, or this, I don't like this one. It's just like, how do we know? I don't know. So I don't know how you know either. So, and I mean, look, I'd be willing to bet 2 weeks ago, Raven fans thought Declan Doyle was a midfielder on the Loyola lacrosse team. Go Hounds! He's got the lacrosse name Declan Doyle. That's a great lacrosse name. So I'm guessing most people, the average Raven fan, did not know who Declan Doyle was until about 10 days ago. So we're going to learn all about Declan Doyle. I'm excited. I'm glad people are excited. That's why we're getting clicks. That's why we're doing this 5 days a week, it seems, for God's sake. So here we are.
I think we can all agree on one thing, though. Anthony Levine would be a fun hire. I'm not saying it'd be a good hire, but that's a great story. It's a great story to have him as co-cap core special teamer, goes into assistant coaching and becomes a special teams coordinator.
Yeah.
That, to me, is a really cool story. So whether or not it's going to, have great results, we'll see. But I think that that's just a fantastic story, and I really hope he's the hire.
Not to mention, undrafted free agent, came to the NFL. Yep. The Ravens sort of signed him. And I don't think he was on the roster for this. He was in the organization for the Super Bowl team in 12, but I think he was hurt or on IR or something. But then he just develops and becomes a key piece of the secondary and all that. And just now he's a popular coach. And yeah, he's definitely a great story. And he was away, but he's one of these guys that knows the tradition of the Ravens, knows special teams. So that would be an interesting hire.
Jeff, I remember, gosh, this would have been 2019, 2020, somewhere around there. What did they refer to themselves as? The council? He was in that group.
Oh, yeah.
The leadership council.
The leadership
But I can't remember. They referred to themselves as something, though. Like Harbaugh referred to him as the leadership council. And, of course, I'm forgetting. But it was Jimmy. It was Judon. It was Tony at one point. It was CoCap. And they were all in this group together. Eric was in it before he left. Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, he's got a presence. He had a presence in that locker room as a player. I can remember getting rookied by him a couple times. Yeah. He knew I was a rookie media member that year for sure.
He could be a handful at times. Now I really grew to get along with him and have a good relationship with him, but he let his opinion be known. By the way, you brought up Judon. Didn't Wolf Fork was a college teammate of Matt Judon at Grand Valley State. That's crazy.
Yeah. He would have been a redshirt junior when Judon was a freshman. So I mean, they played 3 years together.
That's crazy, man.
I didn't put the math there. Wow, Judon's been for a while.
Well, that's the crazy thing. Judon was drafted in 2016. They started playing together in 2010. It just shows how the years fly by.
That was one of those scouting hits, right? Day 3, 5th round, Grand Valley. Like, got to give the Ravens.
He had like 21 sacks in his final year at Grand Valley.
That's insane. All right, so to kind of put the Spark notes together for the first opening 20 minutes of the program, special teams and outside linebackers, two of the positions that we're waiting on in terms of Jesse Minter's staff, two of the more key notable names. I'm sure there's other assistants and the Rick Minters of the world perhaps that will find their way into the organization one way or another. The defensive line coach Jeff just broke the news, who had been with Michigan and has that has the Jesse Minter past experience and relationship with in Lou Esposito. T. Martin is out. Israel Wolfork from Arizona is in to be Lamar Jackson's quarterback's coach. And now let's get to some super chat, shall we? And we kick things off with Matthew. Matthew writes, trade for DJ Moore. Oh, this is going to be hilarious when A.J. Brown's name comes up. This is going to be funny.
We can't get A.J. Brown because we're trying actively.
Because Jeff, you think you sparked something here on Radio Row in San Fran yesterday. We'll get to that in a second. Matthew writes, trade for DJ Moore.
Did he really? Hold on.
Well, you're going to watch how I put this together, okay? Trade for DJ Moore if we can't get A.J. Brown, familiar with Doyle, and could be a replacement for Bateman. Okay, here's what I'm referring to. Derek made his rounds. Derek Henry made his rounds yesterday here, and one of them was with Kay Adams, and I'm sure you guys have seen the clip by now. But when she posed the question, or he didn't really give him a chance to actually, it wasn't a question. It was basically just like, hey, A.J. Brown, Baltimore. Yeah. and he loved it, and everybody else loved it, and that clip went super viral within Raven circles. And a lot of people hit me up and hit the Discord up and hit our comment section up that originated from our resident insider, Jeff Zrebeck.
You know me. Who likes to speculate more about high-profile receiver additions more than I do?
It's amazing that Jeff hates this talk the most and is generating it. Like, that's just great.
Bro, look, don't be surprised when they get themselves a veteran receiver this offseason if they trade for one. Just don't be.
Clip it.
Okay. Yeah. Mustafa, where you at? 24-19. Okay.
It might be Adam Thielen, but it's still a veteran wide receiver.
Is DJ Moore rumored to be available? Man, I love that guy.
I think if I remember correctly, I think people were upset because they thought he one of the interceptions at the end of that game, he kind of quit on it.
Yeah.
So I believe that sparked the speculation, and then the connection to Declan Doyle and being in his offense. DJ Moore being a Maryland guy, we should have drafted DJ Moore instead of Hayden Hurst. All that kind of history. Right?
Okay, yeah, I love that guy as a player, but I don't see them. I'm not really familiar with the contract stuff. I'd have to look him up. He has been on my radar, but I don't see them subtracting away from Cole. From Caleb Williams' weapons. I don't think they're going to go there, but who knows, man? Rule play boys.
Yeah, why don't you take this from
we got a role play.
You can use each other's answers. What is your boldest but most realistic move? And then vote is who is most realistic. Who's running this show? This guy or we? Yeah, this guy's put in more work than we have.
Does he want to produce for the foreseeable future on Tuesdays and Thursdays?
I think my AJ Brown was my boldest take, wasn't it? Let me, who else?
First of all, he's asking each of us. Well, you can't use each other's answers, is what he's requesting here. But for time purposes, Jay-Z, you give yours. How about that?
What is my boldest? Okay, I can't say AJ Brown again, correct?
Well, who says that? You can use whatever the hell you want.
Yeah, I like that one.
I'm gonna stick with AJ Brown. It just makes too much sense. I mean, I was listening to some Philly reporters today from Radio Row, and they were saying again, like, it's hard to imagine that there's not going to be talk and there's not a strong possibility that he get moved. I don't know at this point how big the asking price was. I'd love to sit here and say Max Crosby, but I was, Jay Glazer's really plugged in, and he basically said the other day that Crosby won't be back, and he's made it known for Mark Davis. But then he said that the asking price for Crosby will probably be higher than Micah Parsons. And if I'm not mistaken, Micah Parsons was 2 first-round picks and Kenny Clark. I just don't see the Ravens going that high for a player. Like, I just don't see it, but so I'm going to stick with AJ Brown.
Does it not seem crazy that his price would be that high given he asked for the trade? And it feels like the Raiders lost so much leverage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you guys didn't. Hey,
we got to give one.
You guys didn't give your bold predictions.
I'm trying to play point guard over here in terms of timing so that, the three of us aren't here until midnight. But hey, if Super Chat donors have other ideas, and we appreciate them. All right, go ahead, Cole. What's your boldest move?
I was going to say Max Crosby, but Jeff's right. Like the asking price might put that out of the realistic spot. I would actually go with, I think if they were going to make a trade, I think it'd have to be an edge or a wide receiver for it to make sense. One of those premium positions that's hard to draft. I would actually, just given the smoke, let's go with DJ Moore as a potential cheaper option. But like Jeff said, I haven't looked at the contract either. It might be completely untradeable. I did see a Philly writer do a piece on AJ Brown's and all the void years, and apparently from their perspective, it's actually a very tradable contract. And it's actually very appetizing for a team to trade for. You're still going to have high cap hits, but it's not going to kill you. So he was speculating that might actually generate a decent return, like a second-round pick or that type of thing.
Okay, so if we're following Steven's,
how about you vote? You pick DJ Moore or AJ Brown.
Well, I was just going to throw a third one in, and then
I want to hear the third one.
We'll stick to Steven again. This is Steven's regiment here. Okay, we are on Steven's time for $5. Okay. So AJ Brown, Jeff is standing on business. Cole, you're going with DJ Moore, and I'll just throw the boldest of them all out there, given the polarizing nature with which he plays the game and what he gives you sometimes in the locker room and off the field. George Pickens. What is the most realistic of the three?
Like as a free agency sign, yeah.
Yep.
New era in Baltimore, I would have said under Harbaugh, no way. But I mean.
Yeah, that's
but
a
out
good
of the
one.
three, three, what's the most realistic going on?
Bobby, I've actually been surprised by how many people who have listed the rate. And granted, those are nonsense; those are clickbait stories that you write now connecting teams to certain players. But there's been a bunch of people who've connected the Ravens to Carl Pickens, which I found interesting. George Pickens.
Yeah, George.
Carl was the old Bengals receiver.
Yeah,
loved him as a player. I would say, what's the most realistic? I don't think George Pickens leaves Dallas. I think they would be crazy to let him go. I think they're going to pony up after the season he has, and I don't think he'd be in any hurry, but they're going to have to pay him. And I don't know anything about DJ Moore. Like, I didn't know he was even mentioned as a trade chip. So mine's most realistic. I'm answering the question, deciding for all of us.
I would say Brown, after I read that article, I was like, okay, this is actually tradable, and it makes sense for both teams. So I would agree with you.
What is going on there?
We are there.
What is going on there, though? Like, Stoutland just leaves, even though he doesn't want to stop coaching. And
I just read a Reddit thread about one of their beat guys put out a speculative thing about how he was unhappy with his role, which it's like, how do you screw up Jeff Southland?
Guy's a legend.
For Stoutland.
Yeah.
Well, on top of that, they couldn't get an offensive coordinator who
That
wanted
was
to
an
commit.
issue.
Declan
Yeah.
was one of how many that withdrew? I know Brian Dable went to Tennessee, right? He was in the running. Declan
Yeah.
was in the running. Who else was in the running? I mean, Sean Mannion maybe ends up being a great choice as a former
Yeah.
QB and worked closely with Jordan Love in Green Bay. But yeah, that's
odd for a team that has
Yeah.
has won so much. There always seems to be a controversy there.
Yeah. Not a
McAllister-
chance you read this with a great spelling here, as always. Ngata. McAllister makes the Ring of Honor now that Harbs is gone, Jeff?
No, I think he belongs, but I don't think that's a John Harbaugh decision. I think that goes higher than him on Ring of Honor. I don't think John Harbaugh was keeping Chris McAllister out of the Ring of Honor. So, look, he's around the team a good bit, but I'm a little, they've had chances. They've had years where they've inducted nobody, and he's just kind of out there and has a chance. I mean, he's deserving of the Ring of Honor, but obviously there are some issues back in the playing days that apparently have, I don't want to say eliminated him, but appear to be standing in his way of getting that honor.
Cole, why don't you take this one from Larry Money?
After the Villanueva debacle a few years ago, ADC vowed to rebuild the line and not let this happen again. How did it get so bad so soon after that? They tried to moneyball the guard position. That's really the long and the short of it. They decided not to pay a guy like Ben Powers, who I think that would have been a tough contract for the Ravens to do. I think he has probably lived up to his contract in Denver. I think he's been a pretty good player for them. But they essentially had this program going where they would let guys price themselves out and then try and replace them with a draft pick that had developed for a couple of years. And they've swung out the last couple of years. I think they even tried to do it a little bit with John Simpson with that, where they kind of signed him the year before coming off an injury, if I recall correctly. But the reality is they've gone cheap at the offensive guard position, and that's been kind of their MO. The only guy that they've paid in the last 5 years was Kevin Zeitler, who I thought really did well for them, and then they chose not to bring him back, and they moneyballed with Falele, and we know how that went. Should call him Falele. So yeah, just they went cheap at the guard position. That's what happened.
I also think Joe Delisandros's passing
definitely has an impact, no doubt about it.
Yeah, I think that he could really develop players.
I had a chance to catch up with Bijan Robinson for another one of those 90-second walk and talks today on Radio Row, and being that they had a lot of success in Atlanta, not only running the football, but in pass protection and whatnot. I wanted to ask him about Dwayne Ledford, and he stopped in his tracks out of excitement to talk about his O-line coach, to the point where it was something, I'm paraphrasing. It was like, he's a dog. It's a great hire. That's my guy. And it's one of the top running backs in the entire league. So I don't know. Just like Mickens, right? Now, is that more proven commodity at the NFL level with a ton more experience than Mickens? Absolutely. But it's a change. The change in personnel, change in team, change in organization. But some high praise there from Bijan. Steven says, will us not re-signing Pat Ricard be even more revealing to you how our offense will run? Maybe I hate change, but really proud to have that dude on our team and how we use him. Jeff, for yet again, Pat's set to hit free agency.
Yeah, it seems like it's become, what is this, third straight year maybe where he's free agent. I haven't dug too much into the X's and O's aspect about what Doyle's arrival and the vision for them, how they want to play, will have an impact on their free agents. But look, free agency is only a month away, so we're going to get there once we see this entire coaching staff. To me, I think that would be part of it, Stephen, but I also think part of it, the other part about it, is the longstanding credo of this organization, which is it's better to get rid of a player a year too early than a year too late. And do they think Ricard is on the decline? Do you think he's had so many surgeries? Seems like every offseason he's having another procedure. Are they concerned that he's going to be as effective as he was? He obviously missed a good bit of time this past year with the lower leg injury that, really had a huge impact on their slow start. And if they feel like this is going to continue, it may be a spot where they opt to get younger and cheaper at that position and let him go. But I don't think that I'm not predicting that decision, and B, I don't think that decision will be made lightly. Obviously, this is this is as one of their biggest success stories of the organization, both as an undrafted free agent and a guy that flipped his positions, and to see all the Pro Bowl honors he's gotten and how they've been the best running team in football with him where he's at, and just his toughness he brings and kind of an enforcer on offense. So that's going to be a tough decision they'll have to make. But a lot of it's going to be multifaceted. He's not going to break the bank. He'll get good fullback money, but he's not going to break the bank. The question is, do they feel like the money will be better spent elsewhere? Do they feel like they could get a serviceable replacement much cheaper? And I'm sure those discussions will sort of accelerate in the next couple of weeks.
I think it's worth noting too that, that outside zone run scheme that we've been talking about, that Ledford runs and that we've seen from Declan Doyle's offense under Ben Johnson, it does rely on, tight end blocking. It's a very key component given you're pushing the ball to the edge so consistently. So now that we've seen him for the last couple of years line up as a tight end, and there were definitely times, especially in the red zone, where Chicago didn't carry a fullback on their roster, but they would motion a tight end tight end into their backfield to be basically an H-back or a pseudo fullback. So, I mean, there's a role in this offense for his skill set. It's always going to come down to, can they make the money work? And the reality for Patrick Ricard is, I think he's probably worth more than what he's made. But I just don't think many teams are going to pay a fullback, more than that. And I don't think he's been able to justify that he's a tight end based on, the lack of receiving production. So he did catch a touchdown at the Pro Bowl though. So shout out Project Pat. And
as I said, a lot of offensive coaches from the Ravens are now coaching elsewhere. And that's the quickest way to lose players, when your coaches start going elsewhere and want to bring locker room guys.
Can you picture him and Scattaboo in the same backfield? Jesus.
But that's what's like, that doesn't make you, because the idea of Ricard and Henry in the same backfield has been so tantalizing. Yeah. And you haven't seen a lot of it through 2 years because of Pat's injury through the first half of this past season. But that right there, what's that over? What are they? That's well over 400 pounds of mass. Yeah. So what are we down to now? Is it less than a third of the league that's utilizing fullback?
Oh, yeah, I would think that's where they're at. Plus, they'd have Matt Nagy calling the plays.
That's true. Nagy has been hired by John Harbaugh. We know that. That's happened since the last time. Was that on? Did we know about that Tuesday?
Yeah, I think we made fun of it quickly.
Oh, okay. you lose sight of time and day when you're in a windowless convention center in a food desert for days on days on days. But I guess I made this decision to come here.
Who's the coolest person you saw there, Bobby?
Christ, he's got Shannon Sharp and Chad Johnson sitting right behind him.
Oh, Jeff,
at least you were yesterday.
Jeff, you probably didn't see this, but yesterday our square was flanked by nightcap. So Shannon, Ocho, Debo, James Harrison, Joe Hayden, and you name it. Everybody was coming in and out of that set, and the entourage that follows these people is insane. I mean, through a train of thought.
There's usually like actresses and singers and celebrities. Like I remember at the Ravens Super Bowl at Beyonce's press conference, and just people were lining up to pick their jaws off the floor. And I remember one night we went on a staff dinner for the Baltimore Sun, and you guys I'm much older than you, but remember Vanessa Williams, celebrity? I think she was a model actress. She was at the table next to us, and everyone was flipping out about that. I'm not talking about Ocho Cinco. We see him every day. Who cares about that?
Well, shit. You're hitting me with another pop culture. You hit me with the ice.
You're supposed to be young. You're supposed to be young and hip.
Who did Sauce used to date? Some people were wondering in the live chat whether or not Sauce and Ice or whoever you brought up is still dating.
That would be a shame if they broke up. I'm not up on the Us Weekly gossip. I guess I missed out on that.
What's her name?
Ice Spice.
Yeah, I gotta get spruced up on. I don't really pay attention to pop culture. Okay, well, let me see.
I would have loved to see Jay-Z during Robert Pattinson and Kristen Stewart's breakup. That would have been real theater here on the Collective.
Well, I took a piss next to T.O.
You don't know who they are.
You took a piss next to who?
T.O.
Oh, that's
Sick.
I'm so glad what happened to this conversation thanks to me.
I'm just trying. Like,
I'm going to keep it to football next time.
You know what's funny? I probably have walked by household names within like pop culture, music, and whatnot, and not known a clue. Like, just not knowing who they even are. So I'll get back to you on that, Jay-Z, and I will keep my head on a swivel.
Thank you.
Okay, let's get to a read here, and then we'll get to the live chats reacting accordingly, and we'll get back to the super chats as they continue to come in. And by the way, we're on 6K watch. Are we already north of 6K, Cole?
Yeah.
Well, yes. North. Okay. All right. So that just a reminder. We want to continue to.
Where's your head at, Bobby?
Dude, I'm telling you, man. There's something that makes you brain mush about this place. It's just. There's a lot happening here, and I start to over-process and lose sight of the little things. But I want to say thank you, and we all want to say thank you to today's sponsor and our newest sponsor. That is the folks at OG. And if you're a Baltimore fan who's always breaking down Lamar's next big play, debating strategy, or talking through Baltimore's path to the playoffs, OG is built for you. OG is a prediction markets platform where instead of traditional sports betting, you trade real-world outcomes. On OG, you're trading simple yes or no outcome contracts. So, for example, you can trade outcomes like, will Lamar throw for over 250 yards this week? Or will Baltimore cover the spread? Just a couple examples there. Prices move in real time based on market demand, which basically reflects how confident the market is in that specific outcome. OG prediction markets are derivatives products offered by Crypto.com. Derivatives North America, a commodity futures trading commission regulated exchange. It's available to eligible users. Some state restrictions do apply. And right now, OG is running the big game bonus ahead of Sunday. If you sign up and start trading predictions during the campaign window, you can earn bonuses based on your total trading activity with a chance to earn up to $500 in bonuses. OG isn't just sports either. You can trade markets across politics, economics, and more. Check leaderboards and jump into live chat to see what other fans think. That's Baltimore fans like yourselves out there included. If you want to check it out, head to OG.com or scan the QR code on the screen that you see. We appreciate them for the continued support of our program. And guys, let's get back to some super chats. We left off with Steven, and we picked things back up with Steven. For you, Jeff.
Also regarding the line, DaCosta said we were going to lean into our youth. Is there any concern that we're doing the same thing, but with coaches looking for reassurance? I don't think so, guys. I don't think they're looking at this as, look, we want to develop great coaches. Like, obviously that's part of it. And I think every staff, you want to have a couple developmental coaches too, young coaches that can groom into the role. But, there's a lot to come back from last season, and they're trying to hire the best guys. They're trying to hit the ground running and put themselves in best position to be able to make a run next year. So I don't think they're looking at it as, let's get a bunch of young coaches in here so we can grow and build this powder keg. Just think it's for each role. And I think they're looking for talented coaches and best fits. And, they're not really disqualifying anyone. Ledford's been around for a long time. He's coached almost 2 decades or whatever. And, so he's not a young coach by any stretch. So Rick Minter has been around forever, and he'll join the staff. And Joe Lombardi has been around forever. So, no, I don't think so, Steven. I think they're just looking for the best fits, and they feel like there's some talented coaches out there, and they want to bring them in.
Cole, look what we've just received, the first of its kind tonight.
Man, that took a hot minute. Jeez.
I know. I've lost my touch.
You gotta start advocating.
Well, hold on, though. I got a timestamp to go along with this. Oh. We've just been kind of gradually going along tonight. There was a 5:10 Pacific 8. This came in at 8:10.
Okay.
So Monica was right on top of it.
You were holding out on me.
Monica would never let us down. Monica's got us.
The first, but I don't think last super sticker of the evening. Thank you, Monica. And by the way, we are at 6,077 total subscriptions. So
nice.
We crushed that 6K milestone earlier in the week. We appreciate you guys. And it goes without saying, if you find yourself watching tonight and you don't already subscribe, we'd love for you to become an official member of the collective. Cole, another one from Steven. He's dumping in $10 super chats tonight.
That's the same one.
Oops. I was looking at. I'm telling you, man.
He was Googling Ice Spice.
Dude, they're gonna have to carry you out of there like the Kellen Winslow playoff game where they carried him out of the stadium.
I'm telling you, man.
They have to carry you out to your
Bobby,
bed
how long have you been sitting in that chair?
I don't mean this to be dramatic or anything, because I'm loving this. This is the best week of the year professionally, right? But it's sun up to sundown, and when you get out, I can't find an old fashioned quick enough. So it's not like I'm going home to sleep for 10 hours.
Yeah.
I'm going to burn it from both ends, which has not been the case. I've kept it relatively in check, JZ.
Yeah, let's keep some professionalism here.
Sammy, for you, JZ.
How does the process of breaking news work? Is it different when you're first versus national insider? Also, were the Ravens in on Dunbar?
Great question.
Yeah, I've not heard about Dunbar, honestly. You know how these things work a lot of times is the coaches have a small list of people they want to talk to. And while agents and candidates are calling to try to get on that list if they're not. So I can't say for sure who's on their defensive line hire list. How does the process of breaking news work? It's highly competitive. It's hard. It really is. It's a national reporters league. Most of the leaks in this league come from agents, and agents are tied in with a lot of national reporters. So, it's all about building relationships, and just for, the one this afternoon, I'd heard from somebody that Esposito was their choice for defensive line or someone outside the organization. So, but I had to run it up the flagpole and make some calls to confirm it. You can't, the coaching stuff is very fluid. At times you hear somebody's coming or you hear someone staying and it never happens, and you could look really stupid. So I try to double and triple check the coaching hires and departures, or you stand to look really bad. So it's difficult competing against national people, but that's part of it. That's part of the gig. Everyone works really hard, and it's about just building relationships where people will tell you stuff that they're confident with you in the organization, with you and your relationship and all that. But I'll tell you this, it's been eye-opening for me from an inside journalism perspective, just because I've never really covered one of these mass coaching searches before. And these coaching agents, they have certain reporters on Rolodexes, and I've really, never really had to get to know these guys, because it's just not, I haven't covered a head coaching search in the NFL in my career, and B, the coordinator stuff, Harbaugh would so internalize and handle that internally and talk to so many people that there weren't a ton of breaking stories about it until he was ready for a decision. So it's been eye-opening for me. I've talked to quite a few people who I don't usually talk to at this time of the year, and it's been interesting. I'm kind of excited about the staff that they put together, just because a breath of fresh air, new energy, people from different backgrounds, colleges, really veteran coaches. There's really no common thread to it, all of it. It would be kind of boring if we're talking about all Chargers assistants or all Michigan assistants. That there's coming from so many different places is actually kind of cool. It's kind of energizing.
Just forgetting the most important relationship. You need to befriend a little 5'8" angry Canadian to make sure that when the national guys do report stuff, they give proper credit to the local guys.
Which Shefty did tonight. You went after him a week or two ago, Cole. He gave Jeff credit tonight.
I don't want to say it was me, Jeff, but I mean,
I appreciate
2 + 2 is 4.
Nobody likes to, it's just like, it's like scoring a touchdown. Act like you've been there before. I'm never once in my life going to be one of those guys who bangs on your chest and looking for retweets and looking for credit. If people want to do that on my behalf, that's up to them. Hey, Cole, obviously I appreciate him being an advocate. But I mean, we've seen that controversy in the media over the last couple of weeks with people going off and demanding credit. And look, you look terrible when you do it. I don't think fans care. Fans want the news. Yeah, like if it's from me or bunch of my readers, they get excited or whatever. But I'll never be that guy kind of demanding credit, looking for credit. It just I don't think the readers really care. They want the information, so I kind of try to focus on that.
They don't care, nor do they know in a lot of ways, which I think you just did a great job shedding light on some of the insight, the game within the game behind the scenes.
And it's so quick, guys. Like, okay, you have a story up for 30 seconds until somebody else confirms it, or somebody else who is also working on it figures it out and gets the call that you did 10 seconds earlier. And look, it's important. I mean, I don't want to go on a soapbox, but yesterday in journalism was a really bad day for journalism, with a bunch of my former colleagues and some of the most talented people I've ever worked for with the Washington Post losing their job. And I started as a young reporter in Baltimore, and on all the beats I covered early on, Terps basketball was my first big beat. Before that, I covered small colleges, and I was competing with Washington Post people. And you get your nose bloodied. You get humbled pretty quick. You learn to grow up in your job. You learn about the importance of relationships. And, because I remember one of my first days on the University of Maryland basketball beat, which was the third biggest beat at the Baltimore Sun after the Ravens and Orioles. One of my first days I hadn't even been introduced to the head coach, their SID. I hadn't even started yet, really. And the Washington Post had a big story about one of the Maryland players got in a brawl in Maine, basically took on the whole state of Maine and got arrested. And he was one of their best players. And I'm like, how the heck am I supposed to compete with this? I'm already getting beat. I haven't even started. So I use that sort of a tangent to go into how disappointing all that was. But that's what I was first thought of when they asked me about breaking news. Like, you learn quickly, you get humbled, and it happened a lot when I was younger, often from Washington Post people, and it still happens. I mean, these national people are out of control. It's every day. It's the way the league works.
Did you see Adam Schefter broke a hockey trade the other day?
I saw that, yeah.
And
my man too, the bread man, got traded, which ruined my day, although I knew that was coming.
That's tough.
Yeah, I'm the.
How about the NBA recently? I mean, this breaking news.
The NBA is
no
a goddamn
joke,
circus. It's like watching reality television, like a video game. It's crazy.
Who was it? Shams recently, or somebody said that they bring their phone into the shower with them.
Yeah, I've said that, and Schefter, I guess, has a driver, so he can make and return texts while he is driving, like while he's in the car going to work, so he doesn't.
I must be doing pretty well on super stickers,
right? No doubt. Goodness. Let's get to Jerry's super chat. Jerry writes, with so many college coaches on staff, how much influence do you think they'll have in the draft choices? What free agent linemen, offense and defense, do you think they target? Keep up the awesome job you guys do. Cole, I'm sure you can take question B.
Yeah. Taking a look at some of the free agents. I mean, we kind of talked about it a little bit on Tuesday. It's not a very stocked class. And I think that with the amount of cap space some of these teams have, I think over the course of this week, just even since Tuesday, I've grown a little bit more nervous about Tyler Linderbaum, just because you look at a couple of the teams that need centers and they have a lot of cap space. And if the Ravens get themselves into a bidding war, I'm not sure they're going to win that bidding war. Like, they have the tag at their disposal, so they do have a weapon. But I'm a little nervous about that. But like I mentioned last time, Elijah Vera Tucker, Wyatt Teller, I think are the two guys that I see as plug-and-play starters, which is what I think the Ravens need to do if they're going to go with a veteran. It needs to be someone that I know they can start, and they're going to give you starting caliber guard play.
And then, Jeff, the influence, if any at all, for newbies, essentially, but that also have a good feel for a lot of these prospects, being that they were involved, heavily in the college ranks, the Mike Mickens of the world, the Lou Espositos from a drafting standpoint.
I mean, look how many those teams, Michigan and Notre Dame, played, and that's very valuable. That'll be very valuable in the pre-draft process as you assemble the board and get opinions from various places. You're going to go into those schools, but having coaches that competed against them or coached them in in college. That's information that not too many places are getting, at least that level of firsthand information. So that's all important. It really is. And there's going to be a lot of new voices, not a lot of new voices in those rooms when they, sit down to have these meetings and all that.
Stavito writes, crazy that Jay-Z and Henry confirmed AJ to the Ravens.
I just saw a picture. Henry's on the red carpet at the NFL honors in a full leather getup. Yeah, he's looking quite daunting as usual.
Yeah, no, he was one of the many that were all over Radio Row this week, and he did his rounds yesterday with a lot of the bigger outlets. So NFL honors, to your point, Jay-Z, happening as we speak right down the road here in San Fran. Sammy writes, should we expect a Nnamdi update soon? Oof. Hopefully nobody's holding their breath, boys.
Yeah, it's been weird to have a couple tweets and then nothing following up. It's going to feel, if there's bad news after those tweets, there's going to be some ticked off fans. But no, I go on this rant every day or every show, it seems. And, when he feels like talking about it, or when he gives DaCosta or Jesse Minter the green light to talk about it, I'm sure we'll have an update, or when his agent wants to talk about it. Otherwise, I don't have any anticipation. The next time we'll probably have some availability with the new coaches next week. But again, that's not really their place to talk about Matabike's progress and health. And, Eric DaCosta will talk at the combine in, about 3 weeks. But again, he's been reluctant to say anything about it. So I don't know if 3 weeks is going to change that.
Board certified DJ, you guys have quickly become a great show. Keep it up. What's going on here? It's positive. Shout out to Bobby. The fact that you've not used to this voice. Shout out to Bobby. The fact you've made multiple connections in the moment to meaningfully quote superstar players shows how much you've learned. Oh, appreciate you, DJ. I enjoyed my conversation tonight with Marquise Brown. First time catching up with him since.
I enjoyed the clips on that too, Bobby.
He was good. Thank you. Yeah, I thought he was, he was just. I felt like I was talking to a different guy. I covered him his rookie year, and I know you did too, Jeff. And Cole, were you creating in 2019?
Loosely.
Yeah. So I mean, you remember he had his ups and downs in Baltimore, and if nothing else,
that Detroit game. Oh
yeah,
I'll never forget that Detroit game where he dropped 4 touchdowns.
The Tucker record breaker at the time, right?
Yeah. After all those drops. But then, like on top of that, some of the upside, like what he did in their hometown, week 1, his rookie year, hanging 50 plus. He told me today they were pissed they didn't go for 60 that day. Like
he showed up in the playoffs too.
He did. And then you know what we talked about too?
Oh, he was great in that Tennessee
in his
game.
Foot.
Yeah.
Coming out of Oklahoma, his rookie year, a lot of that was totally marred by the Liz Frank. So
yeah, we've had a bad pattern of drafting receivers and them getting specifically Liz Frank, because I believe Bateman had it as well.
Yeah.
I think the thing that was always missing about Marquise Brown was just how hard that dude worked. Like you'd hear talk that he worked too hard, that's some of the reasons he was injured, because that guy was one of the hardest working players that they've had. And that kind of got lost. You get certain labels, and I think with his Greg, with the Soldiers comment, which I think was related to Greg Roman and the offense and some of the other stuff. I think people lost sight of that. That guy worked his butt off. He really did.
We did mention that. It was about 20 minutes. It's on my YouTube channel, and I brought it up. And look, I just got to give him credit for the way he handled it. And it wasn't damage control. He's like, look, I think a lot of these emotional moments that I shouldn't have tweeted get blown out into something that's just I have a lot of respect for G-Row. He went on to talk about his time with a lot of gratitude. So it's a good conversation and good to catch up with him. And by the way, I'll just throw this out there, and who knows how serious he was. But at the end, I asked him, I was like, what's up with your contract situation? And he's getting ready to hit free agency. And he's like, you never know. I was like, oh, okay. All right.
Bring them all back.
Didn't he talk about the need to invest in the offensive line too? So I mean,
what do you mean?
Didn't he make a comment about protecting Lamar? Did I make that up?
With
you? Did he not? I'm asking.
Oh shit! Maybe I wasn't listening as intently as I
Okay,
should have.
maybe I dreamt that.
Well, no. Hey, you already know where I've been at today, so
Yeah,
I may have to
true.
go back and watch that. Way 2V for you, Cole.
If Lamar really wanted T, wouldn't he still be here? I mean, that's kind of I don't really know what his involvement was in the process, but I would imagine if that was a hard line in the sand, then I'm sure that would have been part of the conversation during the hiring process.
Thanks, Way 2V.
I'll also say it'll be interesting to see if Harbaugh or Monk can hire T. In the grand scheme of things, it'll be interesting to how that connection goes.
Jay-Z, take this one from Neiman.
As always, love the pod. Really enjoying it. Thanks for that. Please keep it up.
That's Jamira Sevic for those at home.
I was just gonna
that last time.
I was gonna ask for your reminder on that.
So someone that is also Croatian commented on our video on Tuesday and said I still didn't quite nail it. So I'm gonna really work on my Serbian. Yeah, he's a Nuggets fan, so we're big Joker fans.
Okay.
So.
Now, but while we're at it though, do we think it's Neiman or Neman?
I think he was referring to the last name, Jamira Sevic. I'm probably botching the Jamir part in Croatian, the way they do their pronunciations.
Let's be honest, we're probably botching both.
Probably.
Jay-Z, another one for you from Primetime 2120.
Do you think Eric moved on from likely negotiations too soon? He could have waited after season ended to see if Likely's price lowered. If not, then you can sign Andrews. Why the rush? I don't know. I mean, they tried to sign him in the offseason. They tried again to sign him early in the season after his injury, thinking it would be beneficial for him to kind of have a deal in the hand and knowing his foot was going to likely linger several weeks. And, you know, he may not have the season numbers wise because he's missing a bunch of time and his foot wasn't going to be 100%. I don't think the question really is, did they move on from Likely too early? I think the question is, did they commit to Andrews too early? Or should they have waited until after the season to evaluate everything? But again, I think everyone has to understand, you wait this many years, 4 years, however long it is, and Andrews, it's been longer. You wait that long to get to free agency. You're a month and a half away. It is really hard to sign players. And you get to the off season for guys in demand, it is very hard, and you wind up having to pay up more to keep them from the whole allure of being a free agent and hearing all these teams drop money at your feet. And I think they didn't want to be in that situation where they got to the off season and they were going to have a hard time, or they were going to have to overpay some of those guys to keep them. But I think that the Andrews thing is certainly a legitimate question, prime time. I don't know that I would say they gave up on Likely negotiations too soon, but from the other aspect of that question, I think that's a fair ask.
Cole, here comes Laura.
I would just like to say that the three of you are perfect together. You are informative and make me laugh. Thanks, guys. Super sticker. Well, thank you for joining us, Laura. We greatly appreciate that. And I will ensure that Jeff gets $3.33 out of that.
Damn it.
Hey, Laura, is now the time to say that I don't think this is a super sticker. It's just a normal super chat. But we appreciate you regardless. Thanks, Laura. Shimmy Boy writes, because of new coaching staff and the experience they have, do you see veterans like Lamar pulling up to OTAs? Jeff, you already know this is going to be asked time and time again leading up to April or May.
Yeah, it's just been kind of, I don't want to say part of the team culture, but I always look at the OTAs around the league and people talk about how they almost have perfect attendance. And then I go out to Ravens camp and there's a dozen players not there. And it's just not something that is really a big deal for the Ravens. It hasn't really been a big deal under Harbaugh. They talk about the people who are there, not the people who are not there. And I don't think in certain cases they even mind certain veterans staying away, because Ed Reed and Ray Lewis and Nada and those guys weren't going to OTAs all the time. I mean, maybe they did really, really early in their career, but when I first started on this beat and during the 2012 was my first full season, you go out there at OTAs and a bunch of the veterans aren't there. That's just sort of how they've done it. So, but in saying that and answering the question, when you're installing a new offense and you have all new coaches, being out there it would just not taking advantage of those reps and not taking part of practice and then being out there with your teammates. That would seem like a significant missed opportunity for anyone who decides not to go. Doesn't mean you have to go to all 10 OTAs or how many or whatever it will be, but to not show up at any of them and then go to mandatory minicamp having not really been around the building, that would not be a good thing. I think we can all agree that would be detrimental to hitting the ground running once training camp starts.
That brings us to Ryan Lipinski, and he says, did Lamar have any input on T. Martin's departure?
On his departure? I don't know Lamar's input on the the quarterback coach thing. But Lamar is talking to team officials. He's talking to Bisciotti. He's talking to DaCosta. He's talking to Jesse Minter. So I don't think it takes much to connect the dots and assume that they've had input with him or they've had conversations with him about the coach that's going to most directly work with him. I think that seems like, they better have done that. So I don't know what Lamar's feelings were about T. Martin's departure, I should say. I know what his feelings were about him, but I don't know what his feelings were about his departure. But you'd have to think that's a conversation that Lamar did not just learn about via Twitter. You'd have to think he knew what they were doing and they told him about some of the candidates and all that. If you involve him in the other stuff, you'd think you'd involve him with the coach that's going to most directly speak to him on a daily basis.
Thanks, Ryan. Look what we got in the chat here with this $10 super chat at Ravens Talk Podcast, a.k.a. the great Samuel Njoku from Ravens Twitter. Great show as well. Great football mind, friend of ours. So, Samuel, appreciate the super chat, brother. Glad you could be with us tonight. And, Cole, that brings us to Fitzy9414.
What do you think about Trey Hendrickson in free agency? Seems way more realistic than Max. I love him as a player. I get the concerns around the injury history and the age. I absolutely hear you. I get it, but I just love him as a player. I've gotten the opportunity to really study his game because he's in our division and he's had so many battles with Ronnie Stanley. He's the guy that only lines up over the left tackle. So I've studied that pretty in depth. I love technicians in pass rushers, and he's one of the best in the NFL at using hand usage to create displacement and to move guys out of their leverage points and then manipulate that with his bend. He's a damn good football player. He's going to get a lot of money though. So I mean, the Ravens would have to make a marquee signing for a guy that's entering probably in the next year or two at the twilight of his career. So are the Ravens willing to do that given their edge rush situation? Maybe they do, but I just think, again, there's so many teams with so much cap space. Like that just screams New England Patriot to me. I don't know what it is. Just Trey Hendrickson in a Patriots jersey, I can just see it. So I don't. And they have $100 million in cap space. So.
Not a chance you read this. Says at Steven runs the show. Trade for Jaguars defensive end Josh Hines-Allen.
He's available too.
Everyone's available.
Everybody, yeah. Right now, it's February 5th. Everybody's available.
Yeah, he's a really good player, man. But Jaguars are in win now mode. I'm sure they'll,
finally had success.
Yeah,
they were damn good against the run this year under Campanelli. One of the 20 candidates that the Ravens had an initial conversation with.
Yeah,
Jeff from JS19_Ravens. This ought to be good.
Did you give Bobby a stipend for the week from your super stickers? Perhaps a steak dinner, a few adult beverages. I'm supposed to give him something?
You got to pay him.
Yeah, that's interesting. Jesus. I was kind of hoping it would be vice versa.
Wait, did we pay for him to get to San Fran? How did this work? I didn't sign anything.
We need to just will this into existence and have the collective live from Radio Row in LA a year from now.
Oh, come God, I'd get my ass kicked on Radio Row.
Bobby doesn't need me to tell him to get a few adult beverages. I promise you that.
Dude, quick story for you on Radio Row. Cole, if you were in this position, it probably would have been even more of a bloodbath than it was. So I'm sitting in this seat yesterday, and I'm sharing a table with the guy who does Jets content. He has hired and employed an intern for the week. Young kid, wouldn't harm a fly, but also has like that extra little small little layer of punk in him, right? Like low 20s, just kind of has that edge to him, and he's working his ass off for my table mate. So much so, when Baron Davis, one of the many entourage members of Nightcap, comes through and into the back of the shot with the guy that I'm into the back of the camera shot of the guy that I'm sharing the table with, the intern goes up and bars him with his forearm, right?
Wow.
So the former NBAer Baron Davis doesn't exactly take too kindly to that. And he goes right up to him, and he's saying things that I'm not even going to say on the show tonight. And this kid did not back down. I'm like, you got to be kidding me. These two were about to go gloves off right in Radio Row. And that's what Canadian boy would do. He doesn't care who's on the opposition.
Don't forget, Baron Davis didn't he win Dancing with the Stars? He's probably got quick feet. I wouldn't want to box with him.
Why do I feel like he had a couple run-ins too after hours during his career? So anyway, that's that. Appreciate you, JS19, for advocating for me to get inside Jeff's wallet. Heather McCubbins with a second.
Yes, Heather.
There we go.
Appreciate you, Heather.
Absolutely. And Jeff, from you, Old Bay 24.
What do the offensive coaches signal for Ricard? What do you mean?
I think it's a good question. We touched on it a little bit earlier, but just like, do they use a fullback? I think is kind of what they're looking for. We kind of touched on it. I mean, the answer is no. Like neither Atlanta or Chicago had a dedicated fullback, but they did use tight ends, H-backs that did some of that role, right? And it's more about role execution than what your positional roster is. So, I mean, I don't think it's a great sign for Ricard. That's just my opinion on it. I think, maybe they'd see similar money going to Charlie Kolar, who's more of that traditional inline blocking tight end.
I was going to say, do you think it helps Kolar? And
I think it helps Kolar a lot. Like I that's kind of how I viewed it when when we've talked so much about tight ends being paid and Mark Andrews being paid. I mean, could the Ravens have gotten better bang for their buck going into the draft for a tight end and paying Charlie Kolar? You're missing that receiving guy, but I think Charlie Kolar fits a lot. And I think, maybe likely priced himself out. Maybe Mark, you don't want to pay him at this point in his career. So, I mean, I think it's a fair question. There's definitely some interesting tight ends in this class. And you see a team like Cleveland who just had a lot of success drafting Harold Fannin and getting some instant production out of him. So, that's just kind of how I viewed it in terms of the three, I guess the four, if we include Ricard. I thought Kolar was the best bang for your buck.
Thanks, Old Bay. That brings us to Olu, who writes, guys, if we miss out on our center, would that be a crushing blow to our draft strategy? Or should we sign Tyler and let Zay walk if we can pull off a trade, that is? Also, check out Jacob Rodriguez from Texas Tech, middle linebacker. How about just getting the Lamar Jackson extension done and make sure both players are still in Baltimore?
Yeah, there's no reason you can't keep Tyler. It's just, you just got to, I think that Lamar contract needs to get done.
Yeah, I said it all along. I know people will talk about Linderbaum and maybe didn't have as great of a year this past year. How much does it have to do with the guys playing next to him? All that. He had the neck injury early in his career. Do you worry about that? I just think the challenge of adding 3 interior starting offensive linemen, or at least 2, and also more tackle depth is just daunting. And, we have to overpay to keep them probably, but the alternative is again, and you're banking on a new center. How does that impact Lamar Jackson too? Like, that's the other part of it. And, I know what people say. I could see the side of it that they suggest, that's too much money for Linderbaum, but the alternative is not good. And banking on finding it, you're not going to, you're going to commit to drafting a center on day 1 or day 2. I don't think you want to be in that mindset either.
Thanks, Olu. Appreciate you. JRock9615 says, is there a plan to introduce coordinators at a press conference? Love the show, fellas.
I would think at some point we'd get that press conference, whether it's next week or shortly thereafter. They don't even have a special teams coordinator yet. So I imagine they'll probably want to do it together and then roll out some of the assistants. But we're not there yet. The staff's not finalized yet. The only ones they've really confirmed were the first 3 or 4, Mickens, Gelman, Ledford, and I think there was one other in there. Oh, Santucci returning. So, once they confirm those, I'm sure we'll have access to that group at some point soon.
Colin Donahue writes, any guesses on wide receiver coach and special teams coach? We've talked about special teams with potentially Anthony Levine being in on that. Do we think it's a two-man race between Tettleton and Gill for wide receivers coach?
No, I don't know what they're at now, but the Broncos wide receiver coach Colbert, who played in the NFL for a bit, he was in the mix too at one point. I heard his name, so I wouldn't think it was just two coaches. They may be down to two at this point, but they've processed this. It'll be interesting how that one goes down. Tettleton's an interesting name, and is another one of these guys that is kind of looked at as a future young star.
Wasn't his dad an Oriole?
Yeah, Mickey Tettleton.
Yeah, an all-star in '89.
Yeah, Fruit Loops. Wasn't his nickname Fruit Loops, I think?
Really?
I think it was Fruit Loops. Something about Fruit Loops. He used to eat Fruit Loops all the time. But
honestly, same.
Yeah, but does the Jaguars change his title to keep him? He's pretty highly thought of there. Do they find a way to upgrade him from assistant wide receiver coach and give him some other role to keep him? I'm not really sure where that one is at this point, but that's a coach that's viewed as being on the rise.
Thanks, Colin. Jerry's back with another one. Jerry, right? Oh, how about, let's see. Am I in Jerry's good graces? New respect for, wow. I mean, come on. I'm flying high tonight. New respect for Bobby. Didn't picture you as a bourbon drinker. What's your preferred brand? I like Buffalo Trace and, of course, Sagamore Spirit. Yeah, I mean, you can't, I mean, if you're in Baltimore, obviously you got to go Sagamore. I like Woodford and Bullet, but I do like Sagamore, and I always had in my bar cart in Canton or Fells, wherever I was, a bottle of Sagamore rye, for sure.
What do you mean a bar cart? What the hell is that?
Well,
you're that big of a high roller where you have
He's
a bar
such a
cart?
millennial, dude.
I know.
What, you don't have one?
I don't even know what a bar. I know what a bar is. What's a bar cart? Like, is that?
I drink Molson Canadian.
Yeah, you do. Wait a second now. Where do you and Mrs. Rebeck store your wine and any kind of hard liquor or anything?
In a cabinet. Isn't that where most human beings put it?
Where mine is.
Well, just to be clear on what my bar cart looks like.
Hey, Bobby, let me let you know a little secret. I have 2 young kids. Do you think we just leave alcohol laying around where the 3-year-old gets his hand on everything? You think I'm just going to leave a bottle of scotch? Put it down on the floor
beside the prescription medications.
It can be propped up, Jay-Z.
Okay, yeah.
So, anyway.
So what do you mean? Like in bars nowadays, they have carts that come around and you
No, Bobby's house has a cart that he rolls around.
It's more of a living room feature for aesthetics, I guess.
Okay. I got you.
A couple bottles of wine can hang, and then you got your glasses that hang as well. And then on the bottom row is where I guess, and I get it, I don't have young ones laying around, so
I'm just glad you graduated from the Shirley Temples.
That's it.
The photoshops of that from last week.
I was dying.
That
the 18 cups.
Oh, that was so good. Heather McCubbin says, Bobby, Ryan Ripken interviewed Marcus Peters. Yes, he did. Did you get to speak with him? I did. I had a chance to catch up with him for, again, 90 seconds. He was not exactly like this. It wasn't exactly tunnel vision with me. He was getting pulled in a million different directions. But I think he's doing some sort of new podcast that he's promoting, and he's going to be back here tomorrow. So we'll try to track him down.
That'll be a good listen.
Yeah. Believe me, I've tried my freaking damnedest to get a live freaking interview for us. But it's a weird time here. It's now 6:20 Pacific, and it's either a ghost town or just a bunch of behind the camera people that are setting up for tomorrow. So, anyway, thanks, Heather. Colin Donahue, Cole.
Has the scouting department changed at all with Harb's departure? Is that more with EDC? Yeah, I have no clue about that. I would assume the front office stays pretty intact, and that was more of they're kind of 2 separate departments. But Jay-Z, you'd have more insight on that.
Yeah, I don't think so. I think the scouting department is Eric's baby. And It doesn't mean John hasn't requested. I mean, John put in 28 slips to interview Ravens people. So was there someone in the personnel or scouting department on that list? I would probably guess yes. Maybe some of the lower level personnel guys, but those scouting department really don't have a ton to do with John in the grand scheme of things.
Gully Squad 02, Jay-Z, favorite 2 to 3. 2 to 3 of your favorite nonfiction books, non-sport is fine.
Is he saying that because my bookshelf back here?
I think so.
Yeah. 2 or 3 of my non-favorite books. I don't know, like I'm a Jersey guy. So Woj wrote a book called The Miracle of St. Anthony's about the St. Anthony's basketball team where Danny Hurley was their longtime head coach. And that book was awesome. That book was really awesome. What else? I'm podcasting too much. I'm not having enough time to read these days. But
we've converted them, Cole.
I don't know where I'm getting this, but Seabiscuit was a great book. Is way better than the movie. The movie I didn't really like that much, but I love the book, The Seabiscuit. There's a bunch of them. I'm glad I'll be better prepared for this question next time, Gully Squad.
I like it.
It would surprise you. I'm actually a reader. I'm going through Cormac McCarthy right now. I'm reading The Road. It's not.
Really?
I know it's not nonfiction. First time reading it. The style of that book is phenomenal. Recommend.
I don't like fiction. I read nonfiction, but I think the last book I read was Bo Jackson's book. It's not all sports. I like to read historical stuff, but occasionally for a light read, I'll pick up a sports book. And I was always fascinated by Bo Jackson when he was when I was growing up, and he was in his 2-sport heyday.
God, admittedly, since I got into this freaking business, I just have not picked up a hardcover all that often. I grew up Mike LaPicca. I mean, come on, he was like my childhood read. All things sports. Mike, is it Lupica or Lupica? And then he was on Sports Reporters. Lupica. He would be on Sports Reporters on Sunday with John Saunders and that whole group.
Saunders,
and I always thought it was like the coolest thing growing up.
Bob Ryan and stuff.
Yeah. You, Don?
What do you think? Go ahead. What do you think? What do you think about some of the second and third round CBs like Kone, Longer Beam, and Tampa? Just young guys filling roster spots. The injuries to 2 of those 3 actually all 3, because Tampa's feel like he's been dealing with injuries since. I thought Tampa made some strides this past year. I really did. I think he was much improved, and he sort of, when they got Gilman and how they were using Kyle Hamilton, it just, and Awuzie played really well. So Tampa just kind of didn't get the snaps down the stretch. The Kone injury really bothered a lot of people because they thought by how he was playing over the summer and how he looked that he was going to help them immediately and be a potential starter down the road. But that injury, man, was brutal. That was brutal. And you talk about these multi-ligament injuries and all that. And, you just never know how his guys come back from. But Kone, they thought, had the potential to really help him. And we'll see how he's able to respond from the injury.
You mentioned it too early in the week, Cole. That was a hell of a play in the end zone on that pass breakup too. So
devastating.
Best wishes to him moving forward. And thanks to you, Don Messed Up. That was our last super chat name. You Don Messed Up.
Mm-hmm.
Colin Donahue with a super sticker, our third of the evening. Colin's been active tonight. Appreciate you, CD. Yeah. And Cole, that brings us to Larry Money.
Cole, no interest in OG David Edwards from the Bills. No, it's a good point. I mean, and speaking of the Steelers, and yes, they did kill them with inside zone. They also used a lot of wide zone in that game, but the left guard for the Steelers last year that came from Philly, Isaac Seumalo,
yeah.
They're both, I'd consider both of them. They're both scheme fits. They're both, kind of in their 30s. They kind of fit that profile I've been talking about as a guy that you're not going to break the bank on, but I can bring him in and he's going to be a starting caliber guard without me having to worry. They're both, I would say, average to above league average in both run and pass blocking. So you're not in a situation where they can do one and not the other. Just steady starters. And I think that's what this offensive line needs at the guard position is a guaranteed starting caliber guard.
Thanks, Larry. Bucket Bomber Win says Hollywood Brown recommend Wolford to son of a frick. Why didn't I ask that? That's these interviews happen so quickly and you're doing 15 different things at once and their handlers, this is the worst. Their handlers, meaning their PR people, at some point in the interview, you might be in the middle of a thought and they're looking at like 1 minute, what? And they're looking over, I'm like, huh. So yeah, I didn't have a chance to to ask about the new quarterback's coach, but
an intern came in and laid out Bobby Vinson. It's a little pick and roll to get him out of there.
Dude, I'm telling you, this Baron Davis, this interaction was unreal yesterday. Matt writes, thoughts on Romeo Doubs in free agency. Is it realistic? Cole?
He has too many drops. He does fit what they want to do, but he just drops the ball so much.
Yeah. Hey, Jeff, this one's for you from Tyler. You know anything about this?
Yeah, that's true. That one became official.
Should I question your source again?
That one became.
Cole, get him, Cole.
Hey, Bobby, do you know? I forgot what story who was that I had for. It was another one early in the coaching process that I mentioned it. Was it Ledford? It was somebody I wrote about it. I tweeted it and Cole texted me to question it. Like, he was questioning my information. This dude.
It was the title.
Oh, I've been carrying this dude's ass for 3 months, and he had the nerve to question me.
And he did it outside the group chat. He knew he was going for one right there.
Just like he was trying to tell you how to do your job the other day. He went in on it on me.
I'm telling you,
just
man.
Remember, guys, I'm just a fan. I don't know why I'm here.
JZ, the more the collective grows, we got to watch our backs. He's going to want autonomy. That's what's going to happen here.
He's going to have a power play and get in his own guys.
Well, I mean, we got Steven in the live chat controlling the itinerary of the show. Like, me and Steven, executive producer.
Oh, that's so good. And that brings us to Brother Stills. With the Cowboys playing in Rio next season, what are the odds? And by the way, the Ravens will not be in Australia like we referenced earlier in the week. That'll be the two West Coast teams. I wonder if that's week 1.
Friday.
And yeah, I mean, how can it not be? Brother Stills says, with the Cowboys playing in Rio next season, what are the odds of the Ravens playing internationally this fall? So what do we – I haven't been following this as much. What do we know now?
We know now that the Cowboys will be hosting the game in Rio, and the Cowboys just happen to have a date against the Ravens as a home game. And it's just funny, like when the show started, I was getting all these texts from Jameson, from ESPN, and Brian Wacker from The Sun. We're already talking about how Rio, and that could be. With all the games, as I said on our last show, it would be surprising if they didn't have a game this year. It seems like these teams are going to be going every year, every other year at this point. And their market connection, I forgot what exactly NFL is calling that, but they're connected with a certain market in each team, and the Ravens is in London, so you figure that would be the more likely. But again, based on their deal with the stadium authority, they can't play a home game elsewhere. So if this is going to be a road game and the Cowboys are in, one of the teams, that would be a pretty attractive matchup, I would think. And I think, guys, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the Falcons are also hosting a international game this year. And I think the Ravens are due to play in Atlanta this year. So, there's going to be 2 or 3 chances for them to be that opponent in an international game.
Plus, there's at least 3 London games versus 1 in
3,
Rio.
Yeah. So, I think there's like 10 total this year. I thought I read somewhere.
Yeah, we're definitely trending towards the idea of all 32 having one.
There'll be
season,
16
right?
games. Every team will play in one. It'll be like the color rush thing where every team had a color rush game.
Right. But I'm just gonna say it now. I just want to will it into existence. The 3 of us on the Copacabana beach set. I will do the agreements so we can get a partnership with one of those resorts. We have Caipirinhas for our first show to set the scene for the week. I know the neighborhood well. I worked the 2016 games.
You've really put a lot of thought into this.
I lived there for the month. I'm just going to say it. If the Ravens and Cowboys get the Rio gig, the collective's going southbound, baby.
Even Cole?
Jack.
Is Adisa Isaac alive? I love the question because, Adisa Isaac's turning into Imam Marshall, and it's unfortunate. Me and Jeff, I remember back in preseason, you and I we had a bunch of chats about Ojabo versus Isaac in those first couple games, and he was kind of showing something. And it's just, you guys know the saying, it's if you can't make the club from the tub, it's one of those sad realities in the NFL.
Appreciate you, Jack, and appreciate everybody who threw in some super chats tonight. The NFL Honors is happening right now, and being that, before we get on out of here, you see it on our menu for the evening. For the second consecutive year, Marshall Yanda and Terrell Suggs were named finalists for Pro Football Hall of Fame candidacy. They're about to figure out their fate in the next hour or so. It's literally happening as we speak. And to no one's surprise, Myles Garrett was Defensive Player of the Year. And we're about to figure out whether or not they hear their names called, Jeff.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know exactly how it would go down. It wouldn't surprise me if they have to wait. At least one of them has to wait again or whatever. I don't quite get, guys, and we're late in the show, so I'm not going to go on a tangent. But I'm not. There's so much controversy about this Hall of Fame and so many witch hunts on who's voting for who, and there's so many good players and there's just not enough slots, and that's the first problem. There's deserving players getting left out every year, but Terrell Suggs should be in the Hall of Fame, and I think he's 8th all time in sacks, and I believe the 7 people in front of him are all in the Hall of Fame, or just about all of them, and a few people behind him are in the Hall of Fame. You want Super Bowl rings, Terrell Suggs has 2 of them. You want major awards, Terrell Suggs has a Defensive Player of the Year award. He has
unblockable in 2011. Unblockable.
He has a Defensive Rookie of the Year award. You want all-around player, smart player. Terrell Suggs was a very good run defender. You talk to people in Pittsburgh about how smart he was to play against. Terrell Suggs should be in the Hall of Fame, and I think Marshall Yanda should be as well. And I'm not elevating Suggs over Yanda, but the fact always remains that guards sometimes can have to wait a while. Just not the glamour position, but a pass rusher who's on multiple Super Bowl teams and was a well-known guy like Suggs. I'm surprised that he's had to wait. I really am. I thought he would be in the first ballot last year, and then I certainly thought he would get in this year if he doesn't. So that one has surprised me a little bit, guys. And from talking to people last year, it sounded like there's more support in the room for Marshall Yanda getting in last year than there was for Suggs. And that surprises me. It really does. I thought when Suggs retired, I thought that was a no-brainer, to be honest with you.
Yeah, it's shocking. Again, you listed it. He checks every box. I really don't get it. Especially like the big thing with these edge players is they go to the career sacks. Like that's always been the big discussion. And I do find it odd too, because so many defensive players of the year over the last few years, I think Patrick Surtain's one of the exceptions. They've all been edge rushers. So, I mean, there's been such a glamour around the edge rusher position as the marquee defensive player. And it still seems questionable that he should have been a first ballot. Like, I don't even really see much of a debate around it. He checks every single box that you need to check.
Well, if you're not watching this in real time, the finalists will be ultimately the candidates will be revealed by then. But we're going to be wrapping up here in the next couple minutes. So,
and then the other thing, guys, I wonder if Henry's in, there's really no Ravens for major awards, but Henry is up for the Walter Payton Man of the Year award. So,
okay. Christian McCaffrey got Comeback Player of the Year. Joe Tooney got Protector of the Year. Cole would like to see his ass in Baltimore.
Wait a second. Joe Tooney got Protector of the Year. Wow.
That's shocking. Yeah. I would have expected to be a left tackle.
Yep. Yep. So CMC gets Comeback. Tooney gets Protector. Miles gets Depoy.
I just can't believe they snubbed Daniel Falele for Protector of the Year.
Oh.
McMillan, Offensive Rookie of the Year, Carolina receiver.
That was interesting because didn't Chuck got one of the awards? That was supposedly a pretty close vote.
Okay.
All right, guys, who you got in the Super Bowl? Let's go here. Say your piece.
I personally think the Seahawks are going to absolutely wax the Patriots. They just their defense has been balling out, no doubt about it. But this Patriots offense, they weren't battle tested this year, and they have played good defenses in the playoffs, no doubt about it. They're one of the first teams to play 3 top 10 defenses to get to the Super Bowl. But the thing is, that's well and good that they've played good defenses, but their offenses look like absolute dog shit. So it doesn't inspire confidence. And if you watch the way the Seahawks team plays, they can put points up in a hurry, and we know what Mike McDonald's able to do. I don't really see a coaching advantage to either team. I think McDaniels has been doing a good job. I just think their execution, specifically their offensive line, has been bad. And we know Vrabel has that defense really believing in themselves and playing good football. But on the flip side, you got Kubiak and McDonald that are two, of the top. I mean, Clint Kubiak's getting a head coaching job for a reason. So I just think, I think this is just, the Seahawks have too much of an advantage on the offensive side of the ball versus Patriots offense. And I crazy take maybe. I think they're going to win they'll win by 14 or more.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Jay-Z, I'll go Seattle. Maybe not in that kind of slugfest like Cole's predicting, but I'll go Seattle as well. And here's why. Maybe you guys will get a kick out of this. Today, I said yes to an interview with the head sports psychologist of the Seattle Seahawks, who's been working very closely with Mike McDonald in the preparations leading up to Sunday. And he has Mike, not that Mike needs a sports psychologist, but he has him so dialed in on the fact that this is just another game. Seattle gets it done. Dr. Michael Gervais, team sports psychologist for the Seattle Seahawks, who I spent 20 minutes with today.
He's going to show up to the interview with one of those little pocket watch.
We did not care. Mike McDonald, baby.
Yeah, I'm going Seattle too, and I don't really have any crazy reason other than you watch them and they just look like they have a better team on all three sides of the ball. I just, you look at it and their defense is playing as well as anybody, and I trust what I've seen from the Seattle offense lately, a lot more than what I've seen from the Patriots in the playoffs. And it seems like Jay Harbaugh, let's not forget about him because he's going to be a coaching candidate soon. Jay Harbaugh has that special teams unit in Seattle making a big play in seemingly every game. So I think Mike Vrabel's a terrific big game coach. I think they'll be ready to play. I think Drake May is obviously a special player, but I just look at the teams and I see a better team in all three phases in Seattle.
Jeff, one of your counterparts as we get out of here, and we have two more super chats, but one of your counterparts up in New York for The Athletic, Charlotte Carroll, is reporting that the Giants are bringing on Greg Roman to the staff. His role will be on the offensive side of the ball. So not offensive coordinator, but Giro returns.
Matt Nagy and Greg Roman.
John Harbaugh's system.
Honestly,
Jackson Dart was here yesterday. Should have asked him about Giro.
Honestly, as a run game coordinator, I'd take Greg Roman.
Yeah.
I mean, he's going to get, with Jackson Dart's going to be doing the Sage Rosenfeld helicopter by 3, but.
Oh,
my goodness.
Oh, man.
That's the funny thing. As much as I bitch about Giro, like studying his run game, that's actually when I got into film. It was that 2019 season was the first one I actually did it on a weekly basis, and studying the way he schemed up that option game. Like if you're into that type of football, it was a thing of beauty. It really was, and I don't say that. I'm not trying to be patronizing. Like it's the way they would leave someone unblocked, and then the next play they are blocked. Like that, there's a lot of that goes into that. When I talked to Nick Boyle, he talked about that a lot too, like how the preparation leading up to that. So I mean, give Greg Roman his flowers for his run game. It really is that good.
You wonder if he'll be like what he started, tight end coach and run game coordinator, like he was in Baltimore when he started.
Yeah.
Colin Donahue with a super sticker on our way out here.
Colin,
man, he's just been pouring support into the program tonight. So thanks, CD. And JS19 Raven says, speaking of books, Jeff, you could be the biographer for Harb's autobiography. Make it 77 pages long.
JS is my guy.
Future New York Times bestseller. JS19. These are good super chats tonight. Oh,
yeah,
man.
I don't think
written by Greg Roman.
I do not think I'd be the choice to write his book. I can promise you that.
Oh my gosh, guys, that was a lot of fun this week. The first 2 a week of our, existence of the show. I do want to refresh our subscriber count so we can continue to follow along with more milestones that are ahead. We're at 6,092. So if you find yourselves on the way out here not subscribed and you enjoyed the last close to 2 hours worth of content, then we would love for you to subscribe, hit that notification bell, like the video, and who knows, maybe we'll be rolling out channel membership here soon, guys, in the form of collectivites. I don't know. We'll have to come up with some sort of phrase for
the collection.
You're the collection. There you go. So.
Jay-Z's the collector.
All right, fellas. We appreciate you. Everybody out there, we'll be back on Tuesday. Coming up next week. Enjoy the rest of NFL Honors. Thanks for being here. Be on the lookout for a lot of our editing team does a great job repurposing content. I mean, they're just churning out all kinds of short form stuff for those of you that don't have the time to sit through an hour and 40 minutes of content. So, and again, to all of you who super chatted tonight, all of you who showed up, we appreciate you guys a lot. And for Cole, for Jeff, I'm Bobby signing off. We'll catch up with you guys next week right here inside the Collect.